And hello everybody, welcome back to your favorite game show on Monday nights called Shake That Baby. I
If
don't have a
you're
pro-
here,
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. That's not what this is. This is the Anime for All podcast.
if you're part of everybody, hello to you today.
It's been a really weird Memorial Day, which we were recording this, but yeah, it is what it is. We're here to review My Hero Academia Season 7, Episode 4. The story of how we all became heroes. Uh, start this conversation off. I want to say I was not anticipating what this was going to be about. I had to expect this to be filler because that title didn't fill me up with hope.
Yeah, it didn't either for me. I thought we were going to get a lot of repetitive stuff.
Speaking of which, I just want to check something really quick because we always seem to do this midway through the podcast. I want to see.
Are you checking on our viewer from Brazil?
No, no. That really needs to either become a meme or something. We need to hear from that person at some point. What I wanted to check was
have him as a guest host on the show.
so the next episode. What the hell is going on here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at Wikipedia for the episode. I'm going to see like the next episode, when is that supposed to drop. So we know ahead of time, like, what's going on. Let's see, next episode. That's really weird. Wait, that's season 1. Jeez. I know what I'm doing. Episode 5. That is June 1st. That is next week, right? Yep, that is this Saturday. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, we're still weekly. This episode let you down, whatever that means. Next Saturday. Okay. I guess that's why I'm here. It's a quick overview. See here, at least the overview of the episode. You can start from there. Is like the adults are all still suspicious about trusting Ayama to cooperate, but the Class 1A members reiterate their belief in him. Just then, Shota Aizawa appears on a computer monitor to take his student's aid, intending not to expel Ayama, who also revealing a plan to take advantage of him and get the drop on the villains. I hate the wording of that, but okay. The Ayamas are taken away for further examination, while the remaining 1A students are regrouped to head back into battle. Izuku and Tenya Ida go to the development course for repairs on their support items, where they reunite with Mei Hatsume, who literally has the same introduction as she had when they first introduced her in Season 2, falling on top of a Deku and having her boobs hit his face. That was not in here, I just wanted to add that in there. Who's seemingly... Huh?
You can't neglect the boob shot.
Who is seemingly clueless about the state of the outside world. They learn that the development students have been hard at work upgrading the UA barrier. You enunciate. Hey, Sochi. Should I get through this? Because this isn't going to be the main meat of the potatoes. Meat and potatoes of the
The diaphragm, boy. The diaphragm.
You diaphragm, whatever that means. They learn that the development students have been hard at work on upgrading the UA barrier, while Mei effortlessly provides Izuku and Ida with replacements for their items. Meanwhile, All Might, Hawks, Ragdoll, the police force, and American military form a counterforce in order to develop their plan to deal with the villains. They decide that they all must be separated by at least 10 kilometers apart to ensure no cooperation, which will cause further trouble for them. At the same time, Aizawa talks to Ayama personally and is able to convince him to break free from the fear that All Might, all for one, instilled within him, but by putting his trust in his classmates and himself. Elsewhere, a costume-clad Hitoshi Shinzo is called upon for... Was that the end of the episode? Was that like... Hold up. I did it again, didn't I?
Sure. I don't remember Hitoshi doing.
You don't know who Shinzo is?
Who's Hitoshi Shinzo?
I believe that's the guy with the ability to force you to do things. That's
Oh,
strange.
that guy.
It's not in the episode here, but according to this episode, he shows up.
He's in there. He's hanging upside down from a tree at the just after the closing credits.
Yeah, so he's a first year student from the general course whose quirk brainwashing allows him to control those who answer his questions. Hitoshi's purple hair and mental abilities were inspired by the Purple Man. And the Purple Man's a supervillain from Daredevil. Huh. Okay. Wasn't anticipating that. But yeah, that entire spiel is basically what happened, but as we normally do in Anime4ALL fashion, we break down small bits and talk about it. So want to talk about the very beginning of the episode where we come back to, you know, Ayama and his parents arrested and Deku trying to convince Ayama to take his hand to become a hero again. Honestly, that was very inspirational, that entire thing. Deku trying to, like, you know, I want to bring up something I didn't bring up last time was like, I remember in the very first episode, or was it the second episode of My Hero Academia, when All Might told Deku that he could be a hero. I was kind of reminded of that, but in this situation, it was Deku calling out to Ayama. You know, like giving Ayama the inspiration to go forward, and especially since Ayama is kind of like Deku. He didn't have a quirk yet when he was born. But there was like some similarity. It wasn't like a one-to-one, but you know, it was like a similarity. You know, with Ayama and Deku there. I thought that was kind of interesting that, you know, Deku was still trying to plead with him, and the adults fighting back, as the synopsis said, you know, saying, well, we can't exactly trust him. He's like, he's giving the villains information, even though he was coerced to do so. Ah, that's interesting interface. Is that Skype in the background?
Yes, it's trying to look like something.
It looks like Skype, actually. Like, it's got all the earmarks of Skype, and I don't know how I feel about that. but yeah,
I don't want to gloss over the. I don't want to gloss over the opposite part with there, where like Aoyama has the sort of an anti Midoriya in a way, because he has the what was I going to say?
got a quirk
He
from All
was
for
made
One.
into, yeah, because he got the quirk. One got the quirk from All for One, and one got the quirk for One for All, and one has the stolen quirk, and the other one has one freely given. There's a lot there to like kind of explore, which is kind of cool. I think it's not to be underdone that they still have him being the anti off, like One for All. Like with that action, it's very calculated anti One for All. One was given like in joy, the other one was given in fear. You know, one controls out of loyalty and idolatryism, and the other one controls through fear and manipulation. It's kind of a cool little, like, I don't know. He's an evil artist.
Well, I mean, he's like, is it invulnerability? No, because you don't live forever in invulnerability, so it is an immortality that All for One's got. Because if it was invulnerability, All Might wouldn't have been able to, even in a world where there is a quirk limit. I don't think All Might's powers would have been able to break invulnerability. I could be completely wrong, considering the third My Hero Academia movie where they have that guy who's unable to take damage, but Deku was able to pretty much push past the limit to break it. So there's a possibility, but I don't know. It must be immortality. I mean, whatever. The whole calculatedness. He's been living for a long time. It's a he's had a lot of time to wait. As he pretty much kind of like puts into practice in the episode prior, is like how Dabi is impatient. It, All for One was calculating and slow going. He didn't care when he was gonna get his goal. He just knew he was gonna get his goal.
Right.
Which is scary in and of itself. A villain that does not care about when they reach their goal, but they will reach their goal. Uh, but yeah, All for One also planting seeds of fear in him. Um, and also they're trying to say that All for One, they could trick All for One with Aoyama. I don't know. I don't know how true that is, because to me it's like, because another thing is brought up later on too is the fact that Aoyama does not have a self-destruct switch in him. And later on, even what's his name? Eraserhead, yeah, Eraserhead, who brings up the fact that, like, what's the point of planting something like
Aizawa. Eraserhead's name is Aizawa.
Aizawa? Aizawa brings up that like, why plant a, if I can go forward a little bit, why plant a self-destruct switch only in your pawns, if only if it was to instill fear. So it sounds like Aizawa thinks that only Nagant, the lady from last season, was the only one that I think had it. At least that's what I'm interpreting from Aizawa's thought process. That he thinks that maybe Nagant was the only one that had an actual lethal switch in them, and he wanted, and like Nagant wanted. No, because didn't Aizawa also say that it sounds like it only got put in her after his defeat? I think he says that. Because Aizawa says that at some point. Hold on, let me. Just want to get the exact words. We'll get to Aizawa's like pep talk later.
Interesting pep talk.
Hmm? The guy here skipped over his thought process about like God. Also, did Zawa lose his eye at some point? Did I freak? Did I miss that?
I wondered the same thing. I thought he lost something else. I thought he lost like a limb or something. I didn't think he lost his eye. I had a lot of thoughts about whether or not that actually interferes with his ability to use his power too. Like, if his power is canceled when he blinks, does not having an eye like mean that he can't use the power anymore?
No, I thought the overall rules they had to look at you. I mean, I don't think it said he has to look at you with both eyes. And I think Azawa would have mentioned that too. I mean, who knows? I don't really know. There's also the idea of like a support item. They could probably give him a fake eye.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like, did both eyes have to be opened as a condition of his
I don't think that was ever
work?
stated that it needed to be both eyes though.
Well, then why wouldn't he just blink one eye and then the other one so that he could
I think he's done that
like,
before though, but he had closed one eye before, didn't he?
no. I think he has to keep both eyes open.
But I mean, when you look, you don't look with one eye though. I mean, just in general, using your eyes, like I don't. I mean, there's nothing out there stating you're wrong. I'm just saying that, this is my
It's
opinion,
just
is like,
he keeps both eyes open and he gets all bloodshot in his eyes and they water and everything else, and then finally he blinks them when he can't hold it anymore. So it would make sense because you could do it indefinitely if you could just use your quirk with one eye closed at any time. Because then all you'd have to do is just close one eye and open the other eye and go back and forth, and you could pretty much do it forever.
I mean, maybe his power isn't as strong. I thought maybe at first maybe his power is just not as strong now, but then he wouldn't have need to make an example of any. Hold up, so this is it. So the quirk that allowed him to make Lady Nagant blow up might have been acquired after All Might defeated him. Kind of think of it, if you were able to plant something to make traitors explode, then he wouldn't have needed to make an example of anyone by killing them. Or give threats like, I'll kill you if you lie to me. So it sounds like, at least I'm gonna interpret, I could be completely wrong. This is just this is just my layman's interpretation of what Aizawa's thought process here is it sounds like the blowing up thing, he only it sounds like he may have only acquired it one time with Lady Nagant, and maybe he needed specifically to do that for Lady Nagant, because she had a quirk and could fight back. So maybe he needed to make an example of somebody who fights back or whatever. But it sounds like, you know, if all of one needed to do that from the very beginning, he would have done it from the very beginning. So it sounds like he may have only required it after the fact, and Yama may have been spared, but who really knows? I mean, I don't know if there's anybody else who's got explosion, you know, switch in them that all for one can trigger. It sounds like Aizawa may be thinking that no one else has it right now. None of the current traders, none of the current pawns have it.
You would think that even if he didn't have that, he'd figure out something else that would work, though.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, well, I don't think All for One would have needed that kind of thing beforehand. So maybe the idea is that Zell is probably thinking in his mind that All for One's name already instills a grip on you anyway, right? You know, he's like one of the almighty villains ever. He's like one of the first villains to existence who's still alive right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like his name in general would instill a grip on you if you were called upon him. So like maybe prior to All Might beating him down in Kamui, I think it's what the name of it, or Kansai, one of the places, that big city where the big fight happened. It's possible that you know, All for One saw that maybe this is gonna affect his grip. So maybe by not only threatening their lives, he also wanted to show them that he will make good on that deal. But the issue with that one that I'm gonna also point out is like, okay, you instill that grip, you threaten people, you blow somebody up one time. If I was a villain and I was like, okay, he could kill me if he put something like that in me. But first of all, you wouldn't know, and second of all, there's no guarantee that it's inside you. So like, it's always a possibility, like, you know, that he's playing some 3D chess or 5D chess in this case, and he's found a way to control them somehow, even beyond the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
The other problem is too, I'm not entirely sure. Has it ever been confirmed that All One can continuously give people the same quirk over and over again?
No, I think he has to. I think he has similar quirks that he builds up and collects, but I don't think he can get like duplicate the quirk. Like if he got one for all, I don't think he could give it to like 3 people or anything like that. I think once he loses a quirk, he's got to go find a similar one and harvest it.
So I mean, I guess in Aizawa's theory, I think Aizawa's thinking that, okay, he used his trump card mainly to blow up Nagant because I'm pretty sure he was afraid that Nagant was going to spill the beans. Possibly, maybe Nagant was deeper in the you know, in the hierarchy of like One for All, like little clubhouse. If
Mm-hmm.
Nagant got free, he was afraid that maybe Nagant was going to spill something. So it wasn't the fact that he was afraid of her ability to fight back. I think he was maybe afraid of her knowledge. it's quite possible he would have got new things, then he didn't want to got getting out with those things. Which makes sense. I mean, if you own an organization, you want to kill if somebody defects and it's like one of your one of your like left hands or right hands, you want them dead because they know too much. Which like people don't get out of the mafia unless they're dead. But yeah, I wanted to point that out with Azala. But I think backing up to the beginning of the episode one more time. The entire little speech that Deku gave to Ayama was kind of cool. I will say, I did get myself sometimes wondering, what in the world is Deku crying about right now? Because he hasn't been crying a lot. This is like one of the situations where he was crying. I was like, huh, I haven't seen Deku tear up in a while. This is strange. Certainly, you think maybe he got past it, but it is what it is.
That's strange to see him tear up over something like this. He gets most passionate when he wants to save somebody, like, not when he wants to defeat somebody. He gets most passionate when he wants to save somebody. And here's somebody that, like,
I want to try this. Like, I mean, it's like Deku hasn't cried a lot, even when he's trying to save somebody. I mean, yeah, passion is one thing, but it's like, I think it's one of the situations. Like, I think most of season 6, he didn't cry. It wasn't until like the very end of it when Uraraka was having her speech, trying to like protect Deku, and he was reliving all those moments in his mind. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting that, like, I guess Deku has reverted back to how he was prior to season 6, at least in that very moment.
Right. That's a fair point.
I'm saying it's a part of his character that hasn't really shown much recently, so it's kind of shocking to see here. And I guess speaking of that character, a little trait that he had, I mean, Ayama was crying a lot here too, because like Ayama is like he's having his own like little internal crisis with like he even says it later on too, but he's having his own internal crisis about like people believing in him and him feeling like he doesn't deserve it. You know, he's constantly calling himself a villain. Because like, he hasn't stopped that. Even later on, he calls himself a criminal. Which, I mean, in the legal term, yeah, he's a criminal, but he did it for he did it for a just cause. But while this is all happening, and Delta's saying that we can't exactly like Ayama can't just do this, or we need to, or the police officer saying that we need the Yamas to agree to helping them. First of all, I was like, man, if they could somehow like maybe like if Ayama could like serve out his time, whatever that time is, maybe as a hero in some capacity, that would be great. I guess speaking also of that too, it's like it's kind of interesting that Ayama is this important right now. I would have never, if you told me back in season 1 or season 2 whenever he showed up that he was gonna be this important later, I would have called you a liar.
That's the whole purpose, though. We were supposed to think he was never going to be worth anything. That's why he made the perfect spy, because we just thought, oh, he's just there. Of course he's there. He's definitely belongs there, I guess, but he's not like anything of consequence.
I mean, I know I get all of that. I'm just saying that it's just one of those. They could use any other character. I mean, like Invisible Girl is a perfect candidate for this. Even Hawk.
Wasn't it though?
Even Hawks was, yeah. Even Hawks is a perfect candidate for this. I remember even thinking about Hawks was the traitor. Actually, I think I remember a time when I believed he was a traitor. I thought I had figured it out.
What's her name?
Huh?
What's her name? I'm trying to look up her name because I wrote it down.
Who are you talking about?
That's what I'm trying to look up.
I mean, what power do they have?
The one that makes this. The one that makes the support equipment.
Oh, Hatsume?
Yeah, Hatsume. Hatsume was the one I thought was.
You know, I can see that.
I thought she was the one because she's so like. I used to talk about it in the podcast previously.
Did you? I don't. You know, I believe you, but at the same time, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Like, I legitimately don't remember.
I had reasons too. I thought she was like married to weaponry and not necessarily married to like doing the right thing.
Well, I think you did specify. You did say, but I don't think you. I guess it's my. I think I remember you didn't really drive home that you thought that she was truly the traitor. I think maybe you're speculating. And this was
I wasn't positive, but it was like my best guess was Hatsume.
It's true. I mean, I think I may have even let on that I thought Cox was the traitor. I think I might have let on. And I think I remember even thinking the truth was because he was doing things that were shady for the most part, but it wasn't until they revealed he was a double agent. I was like, oh, but that's messed. That's just I can't even hate him for that now. I think I even said I don't like him as a character because I couldn't tell which side of the fence he was on. I remember making that pretty clear. I didn't know what side of the fence he was playing. Later on, you find out what side of the fence he's actually playing. But yeah, like Ayama being the perfect. I think I even said this last time. Ayama was the perfect person for this because, like, again, like you said, who would suspect him? He was the goofy guy that pretty much provided comedy relief for the most part when he was on screen. It doesn't mean it makes him more perfect now. I'm saying that out loud because he was barely on screen for the most part. They could easily have used him.
Who is this again?
I can't stop twinkling.
You can't stop tinkling?
I don't know his name. Ayama. I forgot his name. I said it several times. But
yeah.
But with that, you know, they're trying like the friends defending him. Ida defends him. Deku defends him. I want to say, I mean, the entire class defends him. I think even Kirishima stands up for him a little bit too. About like,
Froppy doesn't though. She knows what's going on.
What?
You don't see Froppy standing up for him. She looks back. She's in the background looking angry.
I guess speaking of looking,
her and Sugar Rush.
I mean, speaking of the back looking angry, or this is just natural state. Even though it seems like Bakugo has like he's more like, it's more like a blushing kind of like mean look to him with the collar over his face, so you can't see his mouth. And he's like, I went through a lot of training camp, you know, like Parayama doing that. It was like, yeah, I would be angry too, honestly, especially since like you led these people to try to capture me, and actually was very successful in capturing me too. Though I will say 5 blasts of his howitzer is kind of a little overkill. I think that would like leave him without legs. Like,
or a head, or
well, I mean, if he aimed for his head, yes.
System.
Did you say a sternum?
I said a nervous system.
I don't think he could blast his nervous system. I could be wrong, but I don't think he could blast his nervous system.
I think it just blasts everything that it touches. This howitzer? Are you kidding me? It's just fire damage.
But yeah, they're all trying to fight for him, and like, I never noticed this, but with Tape Guy, do you know his shoulder pads? You must have said something about this at some point, but they look like 6s, but I know they're supposed to be like tape holders. I just noticed that in this particular scene is like they look very much like 6s. Is that just me?
Yeah, they do look like that.
Okay, for a minute there, I thought you were like that was just me. I was like, oh dear. I know they're supposed to be like the tape holders for those tapes that you buy in grocery stores and whatnot. So I was just like, huh. But yeah, they all defend him. Like Todoroki, Kirishima defend him. They also bring up when they were trying to save Deku. Like, did we judge him? Do we judge Deku for not being quirkless and whatnot? Well, Kirishima was saying that. That was kind of cool. Some of the people that, like, you know, had direct interaction with Deku was defending Ayama, kind of with the same, you know, same decisions. And then essentially the cop is like, well, we need to make sure that you know, that they're okay with helping us, and also if HQs knows about what's going on here.
Yeah, they seem like, once they're like, you guys are the victims, so if you guys are okay with it, then it's fine. That leaves out like a bunch of the kitty pack, for example, because they had one of theirs like lose their ability from that. I don't know. It's not just just the students that were the victim of his betrayals. So they said that, and they're like, well, the victims all say that it's okay. No, it's like, there's other people too.
I also want to back up a little bit. They don't exactly come to this conclusion just yet. Aizawa actually ends up coming in on through Skype.
No, they say that, and then Aizawa comes in and says, yeah, and I'll stand up too as their student. as their teacher, and also put my 2 cents in.
I mean, as I was like, I bear responsibility because I wasn't, I didn't catch this. Well, I'm just like, how could you? Well, I guess maybe he could, him being Batman and all, but still, like, how could you?
Hmm.
It wasn't like you were, it wasn't like Azawa. I mean, it wasn't like Yama stood out that much, even though he clearly wanted to stand out. I mean, with a hero name that I can't stop twinkling. I mean, he clearly wanted to stand out. But I guess he also didn't want people to take him seriously, so he gave him that really weird name. Um, but yeah, Azawa stands up for him, and it's the weirdest thing for me too, Azawa doing this, because like I think a phrase that really hit home with me in terms of Azawa's character, that kind of sums up everything about him to me anyway, is the phrase that I will not expel you. It's like it's such a small, like, if on the outside you'd be wondering why would you talk about expelling him? Of course he's expelled. Like, why would he? But like, if you really think about Aizawa's character all the way up to this point, and you know what he's done to defend these students and how he is, and the rumor about if you don't succeed in his class he expels you, him saying I won't expel you means a whole heck of a lot more in context than you know. If you really look at it deep, what he said, you know it, Azawa doesn't isn't I would say Azawa is not a man of a lot of words, but those words hit home a lot, and they did a lot, in my opinion, for me and his character.
I'm confusing
Huh?
because he says, I found them confusing because he has another moment where he says, there you may not be able to stay at UA all the way through. I'm hoping I wrote it down because
I mean, no,
I was
I know. It's like when, yeah, I don't know. I think what Azawa, like, because I mean, Azawa even tells him, like, you know, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
yeah. In 1940, he says, Aoma, when this fight is over, you may not be able to stay at UA. And then he repeats, like a minute later, that I have no intention of expelling you.
Well,
But it's kind of weird because he's saying you might not be able to stay at UA, but I'm not going to expel you. I don't know. It
I
was sort
mean,
of a mixed, confusing and not very comforting message when you really get down to it.
I don't know if it's really confusing. I mean, it could be confusing on the outset, but I really think it's more like it's Azawa's way of showing that he cares about Ayama. And yeah, I mean, if in all reality, it's like Azawa isn't the one that can tell if he can say that he can stay, but Azawa probably would. I mean, yeah, Azawa would bend over backwards to have him stay. Is like, I guess, the best way to put it. But yeah, I mean, I would say him saying that I don't know if you're gonna be able to stay at UA is kind of like contradictory to what you said earlier. But at the same time, I don't think it really I don't think it really fights back against his message. He's like, you know, I won't expel you, but I don't know if you can stay in UA. It's one of those things, like, I don't have control over what, you know, ultimately the school says. And it's really down to the president, whoever his name is, the little bear thing that's been experimenting on his entire life.
It's a mouse.
What?
It's a mouse. It's a lab rat.
Is he a mouse? 'Cause he doesn't really have a mouse tail.
It's a mouse.
You sure?
Yes. Positive.
He doesn't have like a mouse tail. That's like kind of very confused.
I get that it's confusing, but he's a mouse.
Okay, the president, the principal mouse, it's up to him to keep, you know, him
Wiki or something. Go look it up on a wiki or something.
I don't even know his name.
It's not hard to find stuff like that out.
Okay, principal Nezu. Okay.
You got his name?
Yeah, Nezu. Apparently, animals don't manifest quirks in this world. I feel like that's something I should have known. Let's see. Nezu is a small, stout creature who appears to be a possible combination of several different animals, including a dog, a mouse, and a bear, which would make him a chimera. He has the head of a mouse with circular black eyes, a large scar of his right one, relatively rectangle-shaped ears, with pale pink insides slanting outwards from the top of his head, and an elongated muzzle with a small round nose. His fur is white and large, and has large dog-like paws with pink pads and a thin tail like that of a cat. So basically, all that really said is that we're both right.
Apparently, I thought he was a mouse.
He's got mouse characteristics in him. I mean, I would agree he's a mouse if his tail was a lot longer, but it's not. And I know that not all mouses have the same tail, but I'm saying like, at least from what I can tell, usually mouses have very long tails. Mice, I should say, mice have very long tails. But yeah, I can agree that maybe what what maybe Aizawa should have said was just that I won't expel you, leaving out the whole UA school situation just so it doesn't confuse anybody. But regardless, the Aizawa apparently had a plan that he told everybody but Ayama and the parents, because I guess he doesn't want them spilling the beans, whatever those beans are. After all that, they get dismissed to, the students get dismissed to their dorms to prepare in the week that they have for the what they're calling a war breaks out. And also, like, during all this, the adults all have a meeting with themselves at some point. I think it might be fast forwarding. Yeah, that must be happening after this. But I guess before the adults have their meeting, they all, like, the students are like all deciding what they need to do. Some students need to get their costumes fixed, and other students are going to work on their powers. Essentially, it's Izuku and Ida. They decide to go down to the crap. They go down to the development course to get their costumes fixed. And as I said earlier before, the same incident that happened in season 2, I think, where there's an explosion and Hasumi ends up like on top of Deku, happens here too. Showing that not much has changed. And the pro hero, who I forgot his name. What's the name of that dude with the long fingers and the power loader? Yeah, power loader. The pro hero power loader, who was in there before too, comes out and wondering, gets asking like, why are you constantly exploding things? Which I thought was like, that's kind of cool, kind of cute a little bit. Where it's still happening and she hasn't changed at all. She is the traitor. I still see it though, her being a traitor and everything. I mean, I'm not gonna deny that. Like, there's definitely real reason to believe that she would have been a traitor. But after all that, we found out apparently that the school's like defense system was actually designed by him and is upkept by him, but it also apparently, I guess, like Hatsume also, as we found later, a few seconds later, that Hatsume is also upkeeping the barrier for the school, so not anybody can just come in. But that was kind of cool, like a little bit of development for her, that she's being used for her abilities are being used quite frequently. But that was kind of awesome because they do bring up that fact that Paolo does bring up that Mei Hatsume has a drive. It's interesting that they decided to use her drive to make things as a way to, I guess, keep her busy and also keep the school safe. But they ask her to well, Deku actually asked her to
Kind of need her, don't they? Because they have a week to get everything together. So they sort of need her going at full tilt and going all out, don't they?
well protect to keep the barrier going, apparently, because apparently Paolo can't do it by himself.
But she's coming up with ideas for the barrier too, like escape routes and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, so saying, like, I mean, they need her to go, I guess, going at full tilt. As you said, to keep the barrier going. But it's like, yeah, I guess as I was trying to figure out how is she putting all this stuff in, but I guess she is. I'm not gonna deny that. Okay, Deku wanted her to work on the compressed band that he was wearing during season 6 to allow him to use his powers without repercussion. And apparently he really wrecked them things because they looked burnt when he handed them to her. I just want to point out too, about those bands. He used a variant of them in the movie. But I think he blew him up when he was fighting with All Might. If I remember correctly, like there was a compressed band he used in the movie that it didn't last long at near the end of the movie. Again, you probably don't remember this, but I'm just saying that there was a situation where
No, I don't remember this.
he was using a band like that during the movie. I also want to say I think also they were supposed to be a support item for All Might. There's the other thing too. But whatever, I mean, he brings them to like he wants her to like I guess like fix them and bring them back to brand new. But she says that unfortunately she doesn't have the she doesn't have the element necessary to rebuild them because she's gonna have to, you know, refresh those up. She'll have to build them from scratch, and she doesn't have it. As she's walking away in comic fashion, and before she's able to get away, Ida decides to chime in. It's like, "Hey, I'm gonna need you to fix my armor," and then she gets away even further. Apparently, she doesn't have the element necessary either for his armor. Um, and then she jumps into her computer, doing her little techie thing, her inventor thing. We find out all the information that she's been helping the school protect itself. And she also reveals too that, you know, while she doesn't know everything, she knows that there's something going on out there that the heroes, you know, need their help with. And she like it's clear that she takes pride in being in the support course. It's like really nice to see those characters. Speaking of that, there's a lot of people I don't recognize at all in the support room, but I guess they weren't there when we first were there several seasons ago. They just all random characters who are apparently all part of the support course, all willing to help out the heroes because like two of them like decided they're gonna help Ida and Deku out, only for here's a comical bit that they added Natsumi in here. She as they're talking to her, she ends up like throwing I guess like gauntlets at Deku that aren't as like powerful or strong as the compressed band that he was using earlier. Um, into Deku's face, and his face kind of takes on like it was very cartoon like American cartoon like where you throw something in someone's face and it just sits there in their face, causing their face to go inward, and this is this giant divot in his face. Um, does the same thing to Ida by throwing some armor pieces at him, and does the same thing to his face. But in his case, because he's wearing glasses, the glasses get all bent up and into his face. And to me, I was like, man, that looks painful. All I could think was like poor Ida's glasses.
I like it when animes do interesting things like that to suspend the seriousness of a situation for a little bit. You know, they were probably thinking that like the episode was a little bit heavy and they wanted to lighten it up a little bit more than it already was. So they did that. Like suddenly he has cartoon rules applying to him instead of, you know, real rules. I get a kick out of that.
I wasn't expecting it, and I was like, and I have expected them to be back to normal at the next scene, but nope, they weren't. As they were like, you know, with Mount Lady, her explaining everything that's going on and how they're gonna train, uh, Deku and Deku Ida's faces are still dented, and I think it's Kirishima is the one that makes a verbal acknowledgement that he can see that their faces are dented in. But that was also kind of funny. It was like, okay, they didn't even need to have Kirishima acknowledge it, but whatever. But before all that with Mount Lady, we go back to the adults and, you know, them trying to figure what's going on. All Might, being the number one hero and all, you know, lays out the plan essentially, or like what needs to happen for them to be able to take down Shigaraki and All for One. You know, they All Might brings up the fact that Star's battle to us lets them know that Shigaraki is way more powerful than All for One right now at this very moment, and they need to be concerned with him. Also concerned with his they acknowledge that apparently they know of Shigaraki's and All for One's shared consciousness, but what they don't know is how shared it is right this moment. So they need to make sure they get them far away. I think it's like 10 meters is what it is. It's 10 meters. I think it's the minimum amount of distance they need to have between them. So I guess their consciousness can't be shared. That's what it sounds like to me. So like, they need to keep them far away on the battlefield. And All Might, you know, has these little like pins on the whiteboard with faces on them, and he brings up Dabi also being a huge deterrent for all this because They also bring up that Dobby's flames are really dangerous and they cover a huge area. So Dobby would be a huge problem for them to be able to separate the group. And it pretty much is he makes the plan that they need to separate everybody on Team Villain, is what I'm gonna call it. They think like everybody needs to be separated so they can be dealt with on their own. But that was like a smart idea. It's like, okay, if these villains work really well together, maybe it's best to keep them away from each other so they can't plan and plot. Here's another thing. Was there a pin on that board for Stringer?
No, Spinner, you mean?
Oh, Spinner, sorry. Um,
Yeah, there was no pin on the board for Spinner. What's the worst Spinner could do? Like, as far as we know, who is Spinner a threat to?
Here's the thing though, I really don't want to discount him. I mean, yeah, what's the worst is I mean, but he's able to Spinner's presence can already stir up a lot. He is literally essentially, like, I hate to even say this, but like he's like the heteromorphs' messiah. Like he's very recognizable. Like they could cause an uprising on their own just because society doesn't like them and they're all like underground. The fact that some of them are coming up on above land and now all this mess is happening really is dangerous in and of itself. Like Stringer having all this support from randos that feel rejected and hurt by humanity could really be dangerous in and amongst itself. There'll be a lot of casualties with just them alone. Like he has an army. Essentially, he doesn't know it yet, but he has an army. I mean, yeah, there are a bunch of like one shot, one night shots, but it's like at the same time, it's like he still kind of has that kind of an issue. On top of that, as far as we know, he hasn't woken up his quirk. If his quirk can be woken up, I don't know if it's possible. I wouldn't discount that either. Like I'm more on the opinion, I don't want to discount anybody, regardless of how like useless they seem on the outset. Sometimes those people are the ones that you're not prepared for that cause the most damage. Now, I'm not sure what kind of damage he already said that he could do. I don't want to sit there and say that he's completely, out the gate, uh, you know, not dangerous.
I
Like,
also don't think that. Um, I also don't think that All for One is particularly dangerous in a fight. You know what I mean? But like, I'm not sure why they're so concerned about All for One being dangerous in a fight because he has to walk around with like breathing tubes and stuff like that. But
I mean, he had those
Spinner,
breathing tubes during his fight with All Might. He was still dangerous then.
did he have breathing tubes then? I thought All Might's fight left him crippled kind of afterwards.
The first fight he ever had with him, sure, but I think he had them. On top of that, it's not like that machine is like that much of a hindrance. I mean, during his little talk with Spinner, we see that he's able to cause that thing to float. Like, I don't think, even though he was defeated by All Might, that doesn't mean that All for One is like useless. I still think he's got some kick. On top of that, it's like All for One has stated before, and I believe him, that he's had decades of planning, and everything like that. I'm pretty sure he's got a plan for just about everything. Even another confrontation on All Might, where he's got like something in the works like since then. I mean, we already know that he's a very patient guy. Like plans falling through don't seem to aggravate him that much. Like of all the villains I've ever seen in any fictional work I've ever watched, he's got to be the most patient villain I've ever seen. Because even the most well planned villains reach the end of their play cards by this point, but it doesn't seem like he has. But yeah, they
Yeah,
have.
I hear what you're saying. I don't know how much of a fighter All for One is right now. I think could potentially be pretty weakened after his fight with All Might. But I think that um, I don't think he's the real danger. I think Shigaraki right now, as far as fighters go, is the real danger. I think that Spinner's ability, and this is kind of what I was getting at, Spinner's ability right now is to inspire people to the side of the bad guys, and I think that's his big ability. Is he a fighter? Yes. Like, would they have to pay attention to him if there was a battle? Yes, they would. But we've already seen several times in battles that like they pay attention to him, but they haven't seen him as like a real threat. Like he's not any more powerful than he was when he attacked like the summer camp or whatever for the when they all went to the camp with the kitty crew. Like, you know what I mean? He was in there and he was fighting and he was holding his own just fine. But you didn't exactly see him dominating like Dobby did or something like that.
Well, I don't like. I know you say that he isn't much of a fighter, Alpha One, but it's like, but right now, it's like I feel like he's still got quirk stockpile. Like I said before, that this man's ability to plan is probably the most aggravating thing I find, me personally, about this character. Um, it's probably the most unrealistic, really, thing about a villain character. I mean, even like people like Lex Luthor or Joker, like yeah, they plan, but like they don't plan like their plans don't reach decades. So like for me, it's like I feel like he might have quirk stockpile that he's saved for whatever occasion. He's had that doctor in his back pocket for years. Like who's to say there's no quirks he's got stockpiled and just waiting to like unleash upon the world. Um, regardless of the powers he's given Tomura Shigaraki, even though we know that he had been searching for a while for powers that he thought suited Shigaraki anyway. And this isn't to say that Shigaraki, just because like I think All for One is a danger, that doesn't mean I don't think Shigaraki isn't the main problem. I mean, Shigaraki is like unrestrained hate, and usually that's not good for anybody. Not for the person that's holding it, and not for the world that's about to have it unleashed upon them. But I just say I think maybe, at least in my opinion, I think both these characters are just as much dangerous. Yeah, is Shigaraki the more like impending doom? Yes, for sure. But I don't think that All for One should be like, nah, don't worry about him. All Might damage him really good. I don't think that's the case because All Might did the exact same thing prior to the story beginning, and All for One still kind of pose a problem. Yeah, All Might also is depowered, but that still doesn't account for half the damage that he was doing. Those two have been enemies for years, all the way up to the beginning of the story. And a part of All Might's damage is because of All for One. He's the one that did that damage to the side of his on the side of his body. So for me, I won't count All for One out of it just yet. Secondary, secondary danger, yes. But yeah, I still think Shigaraki is definitely way more dangerous than he was when he first started in the show. Like I was not expecting the direction they were going with him. I thought he's still very unstable, mentally and everything. Like he's gotten more unstable as the show's gone on, which is really weird, saying that he's actually intelligent to a point. But yeah, they talk about that plan, and ultimately the plan is to get the villains separated. It's something they really want to deal with. Dobby is like one of, at least for All Might, where he wants to get Dobby out of the picture somehow. So I'm guessing that's gonna be Shoto and his father's cross to bear. Take care of Dobby. Even though I guess they'll always just gonna happen regardless, because like Dobby doesn't seem to have any interest in anybody but his brother and his father.
Right.
And then like, well, I mean, Toga's on that board, but they don't really say much about her. You know, she's just as dangerous now with her ability to, not only still appearances, she can still quirks now too.
Do they even know where she is though?
Toga? No, because every time she pops up, she disappears. So, I think they suspect she's gonna be there, considering that she's one of the generals of the Liberation Army anyway.
Is she a danger personally, or more of a nuisance? Do you think?
I think she's a danger, mainly just because if before her quirk had awoken, you know, like gotten more powerful, like I would say, yeah, should be more of a nuisance then because like okay, she can just like copy an appearance and that's it. But now that she knows that whoever's appearance she takes, she can take their power if they have one. Use their power, it makes her more of a threat now, especially if she you know takes the blood of the right person. Now, granted, people know what she's able to do, so they'll probably be wary of her, but she knows that as well, so she'll probably come in to the battlefield as somebody else that can get close. Like as crazy as Toga is, and as crazy as I know I've said Toga, crazy as she is, I she isn't dumb. I mean, she's not the smartest tool in the bunch, but she isn't dumb. Like, that's one thing I will give Toga. Like, I think she's a danger, and I guess I say she's a danger in the right situation. I don't think she's a nuisance because nuisance implies that you can take her out real quickly, but I don't know about that either. She's capable of fighter regardless. And she's remained on the loose for years, which is a crazier thing too. Is like because like I think after her first kill is they weren't able to find her, and she's been on loose ever since.
She's sort of a Harley Quinn character to me, where she does what she feels like she's gonna do,
I don't know. I feel like
and
she's more dangerous than Harley
she has
Quinn.
her own like motivations and goals and everything like that don't necessarily line up with anybody else and are kind of spontaneous at times.
I mean, I agree with that, but I still feel like she's more dangerous than Harley Quinn. Well, I guess I will. I'll take it back. Post rebirth Harley Quinn maybe, but prior to that, no.
I'm talking about the style of character, not necessarily the power level. Of course, she's more powerful than Harley Quinn.
I still don't know because like Harley Quinn was still like I mean, talking about character just in general. Harley Quinn was insanely in love with the Joker. I don't think. I guess you could still make the argument she's insanely in love with the Joker, but like I don't know if that's insane love, more just like infatuated with him for a strange reason.
Well, the canon is that the Joker drove her nuts when she was her counselor. She was the Joker's counselor in Arkham Asylum, and the Joker drove her nuts instead of her driving him insane. And she fell in love with him at the same time.
I know that canon, but I'm just like I'm trying to reconcile this with the Toga, but it's like I can't not. There's similarities for sure. I just don't know like how much of the similarities I'm willing to admit to.
What? Of Toga and Harley?
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. You're being silly if you say there's not.
I'm not saying there aren't. I'm just saying how much I'm willing to admit that there are like how many similarities are there that I'm willing to admit. It's like I mean there are definitely she's got a vibe to her, but it's like I don't think like Harley Quinn's a killer. Toga is.
Depends on which version of Harley Quinn you're paying attention to.
There's a version of Harley Quinn that kills.
I think so. There's a lot of versions. There's versions that are lesbian. There's versions of her that are like pretty nutso.
Well, Harley Quinn didn't even get introduced into the show until like post the Batman animated series because she wasn't a comic book character. How many versions of her could there be? I mean, I know it's a long time ago. That's 2000, so it was like 24 years. They could have easily had different versions of her, but
Harley Quinn was brought in the 90s. So and she's had her own she's had her own show series and all sorts of stuff. She's had plenty of time to come up with something. Like they've had a lot of different versions of her. She's had her own movie, she's had her own TV, her own dedicated TV show. She's been in plenty of other DC shows. She's been in the Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad has had its own movie and cartoon versions and stuff like that as well. I'd say that there's plenty going around for Harley.
I guess I'm just gonna move on. I mean, I don't know. She just it doesn't come off as a killer to me.
No, I agree with you. Now that I'm saying it, I agree with you. I'm having a tough time thinking of a time that she would actually have been a killer. But I think she would kill in the right circumstances. I think she's not like that harmless of a villain.
I mean, I'm just thinking of her like just
she'd definitely create chaos that would lead indirectly to death too.
Well, that death wouldn't have really been her fault. I can't really say that.
Like I could see her recklessly careening down the street and flying through an intersection and causing car accidents and stuff like that that would incidentally lead to deaths.
I mean, there was also a time the Joker didn't exactly kill people. He just kind of like, as you say, caused chaos. It's only recently where he's done things that literally have killed people. I think even Batman makes a reference about that too. It's like, man, Joker never kills. So what's going on?
You say it like that?
Not like that, but I feel like those are instances I remember. Like I think it was during the introduction of the Joker gas, as being something that was like made by the Joker, that killed people. So I think at that point, I remember Batman saying something in the context of like, what's going like is like Joker up to this point hasn't killed anybody. It's like one of those, I think it's like one of the main reasons why Joker and Batman fight so much is just like there's a villain. That's about it. Like he causes chaos wherever he goes. He steals things. So like, maybe it's become a part of Joker's character where he'll inadvertently kill somebody because he doesn't care. Because it's gotten more and more to the point where Joker's just unstable. So you know, he's just a madman. If you die, you die.
If he dies, he dies. Do you know what you're referencing with that?
No, I'm pretty sure you're gonna tell me.
It's Rocky IV, I believe, where the Russian beats the crap out of somebody and like they're laying there and like dying. And he goes, "If he dies, he dies."
That seems really Russian.
It's very famous.
It's also apparently very Russian. What was the last thing I said about? Oh yeah, I guess Toga's dangerousness. Yay. Guess we'll see. Like ultimately, like what's gonna happen. I think they suspect Toga's gonna show up at the battlefield. It's also All Might because he had the button of her on there. Can't mention what the other buttons were. The one was Davi, the other one, I think All For One was on there. Is there anybody on the League of Villains I'm not thinking about?
Any what that you're not thinking about?
Anybody on the League of Villains? I think I got everybody right.
I think so.
Oh well, if I didn't, I didn't. Whoever they were, you weren't important enough. Moving on.
Or at least compelling enough.
I guess we'll move forward as far as I never get into close to the end. Oh, I think now we're on to. Okay, now this is another part we can talk about. We can talk about. Oh shoot. We not talking about shoot. Oh, Aizawa. We go to where Aizawa is. But I think also before all that, there's like a little conversation happening with Mountain Lady and like the Class 1A. I think they're just preparing to train with her to you know get more out of their quirks and whatnot. And Ida and Deku, as I said before, come out in comical fashion apparently, because apparently their faces being pressed in happened a few moments before they got there. So like their faces are like comically impressed. Um, they bring up my lady talks to them about like I guess what their game plan's gonna be, and it's I forgot her name. Ask the girl, Mina. Mina is like wondering if like Ayama is gonna like join them and still be a hero. Deku, being all serious, as his face is becoming uncompressed, believes that Ayama will join them for sure. And then we cut away to Ayama specifically talking with Azawa, and Azawa is giving I would not his best pep talk, but like it's a surprising pep talk that I would never expect it to come out of him, considering how serious of a character Azawa tends to be most of the time. Um,
Mhm.
he's just talking to Ayama about like, are you afraid? Like, why are you specifically afraid of All Might? I mean, specifically afraid of All for One. Ayama kind of goes into the spiel of like, yeah, he's afraid. He's afraid of All for One, but he's specifically afraid of his friends because it sounds like he doesn't think he can live up to, I guess whatever belief that his friends have about him. Like he's afraid that he'll just if All for One shows up, he'll just easily as betray them again, which is like understandable. At least in my opinion, it's understandable. I mean, yeah, he's threatened you before. I mean, there's no telling what he'll do to you. He finds out that you are a traitor. Um, Azella brings up the fact that like it'll take it like, and even in a lifetime, you wouldn't get the amount of friends standing up for you than you got right there. But I thought that was kind of inspiring that he's got Azella was leaning on Class 1A and how they were protecting him.
Yeah, I like that too. I also thought it was interesting that honesty he gave him about using you like this may make us no different than different from All from One at 2016. I was like, oh yeah, they're kind of like unapologetically using you.
I kind of hated that wording, but at the same time, I can't exactly hate it because it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, but I guess like Ayama's like in his mind, this is probably the better option I have right now versus going to jail. And but as you can tell, like as I was like trying to pep him up, and whatnot, and he was saying like I'm not gonna let you wither away in the darkness. It's like Ayama brings that up as like he'd rather just be cut off from humanity and stuffed in a dark place. He doesn't feel like he deserves to be in the light, which is like when you really think about that's kind of sad. Like the amount of damage that All for One has done to him mentally has got to be insane. And like All for One, as far as we know, hasn't really been too much in communication with him. He's only ever like shown up to get information from him. Other than that, actually, it doesn't even sound like All for One's ever talked to him. He's giving information to his parents, who then give that stuff to All for One.
All for One's end game. Like, what does he want?
What do you mean?
What does All for One want? To rule the world? Like, what is his final like? If he could get his way and get everything he wanted, what would it be?
I mean, he said this before. I thought it was just he wanted to return the world to how it was prior to the hero stuff. But it's brought up that like before the hero system was brought in, with the world's mass chaos, villains are everywhere. They could do what they want without really having to fear the law.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But I guess a good point is like, well, what does he want? Um, 'Cause I will say that seems kind of like Eddie, kind of in a really weird way. And yet he's done all this planning that I'm gonna say he's been doing for decades. Um, ever since he was stopped by All for One, ever since he was stopped by but he was stopped by I guess his brother at the time. He was stopped by then. He's been planning for however many years at this point to get what he wants, whatever that is. He's even added Shigaraki into that plan by putting his consciousness inside of him. Which is even weirder to me, because to me I initially thought maybe All for One was trying to take over Shigaraki, But if that was the case, Shigaraki's a lot more strong-willed than he anticipated.
It's just taking a little longer. And time doesn't seem to matter to him as long as he gets it in the end.
Yeah, but it's like Shigaraki still seems kind of strong-willed. Like, I mean, yeah, it's gonna take time to take over for sure. But it's like, if Shigaraki is this much of a pain in the
I
butt,
think the real storyline right in this right now is whether or not Midoriya can save Shigaraki from himself. I think that's the real storyline. I think that's what at the very end, the peak fight, Shigaraki and Midoriya, like Shigaraki is going to be turned by Midoriya to the side of good.
but can you really? I understand you were going for it, but it's like, can you really turn a character who like the storyline that we've been following with Shigaraki? Just that he was a weirdo at the very beginning of the show, that we didn't know what was going on. He was making video game references, from us being called a child when he first showed up. As he's grown throughout the course of the show, he's gotten so much more unstable that it's like, to me, it's like, I don't know if Deku can reach somebody like him, because like, at least to me, from what I can tell from everything that we've seen at this point, his main issue is that no hero saved him when he was a kid, but All For One did. So it's like, to me, it's like he sees the villains as the heroes and the heroes as the villains. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can really turn somebody like that, because like, there's a lot of like deep-seated resentment towards his family, deep-seated resentment to the system, deep-seated resentment to the world. It's like, I don't know how you could turn somebody like that who literally hates everything. I mean, if anybody could do it, I guess it would be Deku, but it's like, Deku doesn't have that growing up thing, you know, he doesn't have that ability to relate to him. As far as I can tell, like, there's nothing really similar to them other than the people that decided to make them the protege. I can't say for certain if he can reach him. I mean, even the quirk's consciousness inside All For One, One For All, don't even think so. I mean, I know his grandmother really wishes for it, but like, everybody else doesn't seem to think that it's worth it. I know Deku's gonna do it regardless, but I'm just saying, it's just like, I can't see a situation where you could turn somebody that insane back to reality.
But that's what Deku does. And that's what he's trying to do with Aoyama right now. It's kind of a reminder that this is what he does when we're watching him with Aoyama. And Deku did say that he wanted to save him. So why would Deku say, I want to save him, if that wasn't going to become a major plot line? And we can't have Deku fail, because starting from episode 1, he says he will become the greatest hero of all time.
I've been thinking about that line.
We know in the end that Deku is going to succeed at whatever he's trying to do. We know that Deku wants to save him. And we know that saving is what he does. People is what he does best. Like, saving them emotionally is what he does best.
I know where you're going, but I'm like, if I guess for me, it's like, if like Shigaraki was just a tiny bit sane, I could see Deku latching onto that. But like, maybe he is sane, I just don't see it.
Shigaraki knows that he's being taken over and losing himself to All For One.
Yeah, but that's more of a fight for himself versus a fight to I know what you're getting at. I know what you're saying. I'm just like, I'm looking at what's like right now in front of me, and it's just one of those things like Shigaraki. If like, to me, it's like, if Shigaraki, if Shigaraki was the same as he was before, like back when his decay quirk was awoken, like and he's able to control it. If Deku had been able to had interacted with him then, maybe, to me, it's like, okay, maybe there's a way that you can save him because he's still kind of human there. But ever since then, like, he's become less and less human. Now, just as you said before, this is the show, Deku saves people. I'm just like, to me, Shigaraki seems too far gone. Again, in all the ways that matter right now. But I mean, again, if they can bring him back from the precipice of being evil, it's Deku. But it's just like, even with the whole him trying to fight for his own individuality. But even then, when Deku saw that, to me, it seemed like more of like a, I want to destroy the world still, but I don't want to lose my individuality to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that seemed like to me. Now, like again, Deku also had a chance to see his inner child, and maybe that's
I
what
think
he's got
it's
to
more
reach.
like I want to destroy the world, but things are not going the way I thought they were going to go. Like, I want to destroy the world, but what's going on here? This isn't part of the deal.
I don't think anything that's happening to Shigaraki right now he was expecting. I mean, I'm almost certain that All For One told him that he was going to give him powers, but I don't think he told All For One told him that he was going to be a part of that.
Right.
But like, I'm not going to disagree with your whole idea. And like, I mean, yeah, this is My Hero Academia. This is Deku's job. I'm just like, I've seen hero stories that like are worse than this, where the person trying to save is like even worse off in shape, or like the villain trying to defeat the hero doesn't want to kill. I mean, Airbender is always an easy one for me to go to. I remember when that was happening, and I was just like, I was irritated just by the idea that Aang didn't want to kill him, even though it was clear that that was the best way to deal with him. The idea of taking away his powers was not a concept until the very final episode. But yeah, I'm like, what are they not saying? What is not happening here? There's something they're not saying, and I'm like, they're purposely not telling me because I really I'm right now. I'm at this whole. I feel like these like the to me the best, the most kind thing you could do to Shigaraki is kill him, so that way he doesn't have to like lose himself. He can still die as Shigaraki, but again, there's also that whole idea of the inner child thing that Deku does
Mm-hmm.
meet last season, but it's possible that maybe that's what he's got to reach is the inner child. But even that, it's like I don't know, like how deep in this in this repressed mess of emotions that Shigaraki has does he have to dig for that?
Come again?
I'm just saying that like if there's anything in Shigaraki that can be I guess reached would be his inner child. But I'm just saying that like his inner child is so deep in this repressed mess of emotions in his brain. Like Deku, I think only saw that by chance.
And yet the inner child is so relevant. It's in the opening credits.
Watch this credit so many times. The opening credits before so many times. Wait, is the inner child in that chair at the window? Oh, never mind. Oh, I glossed over that. But that
Right
just
there.
that entire looks insane. But okay. Maybe that's the key. Maybe he's got to somehow reach that inner child. It's like to me, it's like isn't that kid like buried underneath so much trauma? Like the
Mm-hmm.
amount of like the amount of like, I'm not saying Deku can't do it. I'm just saying that like how much time would Deku need to pry all those like layers off in the hands? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, metaphorically speaking, but like it's just like that is a lot of emotional damage that has been done to this kid. And who's to say that Shigaraki can still function in reality with like, because what are we looking at if we do get the air child out? Like, is he gonna revert back to how he was season one? Like, it's like I don't know. I guess these are the questions I have that don't really matter right now because they're not the next thing right now. But thoughts in the head that are dropping out.
It's the essence of that guy's mother inside of him. That sounded dirty. But you know,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wasn't even thinking like that. And then you say that sounds dirty. I'm like,
I'm not sure exactly what it means, but it sounds dirty.
I mean, more like the spirit of his grandmother, who's the one
Yeah,
that's really the
outside the
most hurt.
grandmother.
Like, is probably the one that's most hurt. And again, I would like for her to be happy and rest in peace and her afterlife, but it's just like when your predecessors are like, we need to kill this kid, like even Gran Torino, the guy that that you had a lot of, like, you confided in the most, says we might have to kill that kid. It's just like, then again, this was before. I mean, Deku was literally has seen his inner child. Like, he's literally met him. He wasn't able to do anything, but he saw him there. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe Deku has the ability to reach that inner child. It's just one of those things. I guess ultimately, like, how much, like, would Deku have the time to be able to do that kind of, like, soul searching, like literal soul searching?
Yeah.
In the midst of all this, it's like,
I'm guessing it's going to be more than one encounter that it happened where it happens.
you mean
Like
meeting
we're
the inner child?
we're already seeing like a sort of breakdown like of the character. Like we've already seen like Star and Stripe like sending her like quirk into him and ripping up like his quirks and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, I guess ultimately it's gonna happen because the story's gotta have a good happy ending. But I'm just like, what if they did give us a happy ending?
Deku's the greatest hero of all time, and it didn't even matter.
Jeez, but I guess
He tried so hard and got so far. In the end, sorry.
no problem.
Didn't matter.
Obligatory Linkin Park reference for anybody who doesn't know. Uh,
Yeah.
I guess with that's like the end of the episode. We cut off after, like, Aizawa and Ayama have their pep talk, and it seems like Aizawa got to him. I was gonna bring it to maybe Aizawa kind of sees a little of himself inside Ayama. Because we have those moments when he's talking to him, and we have him flash back to his friendship, with uh President Mike, and who we now know as Kurogiri. I actually want to bring that up too. We see Kurogiri in the intro, don't we? Like, what does that mean? Is he gonna be important for something later? We know it's his best friend.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe as always he's a little bit himself inside Ayama, and he's trying to help him, climb out of the hole.
Are you talking about Kirigiri, the one that can take over people? Which one is Kirigiri?
He's the warp.
The guy that can warp from place to place?
Yeah, the one that he managed to capture. Yeah, the one that found out that apparently he essentially was like Aizawa and President Mike's childhood friend that they thought was dead.
Are they did he get freed? I'm assuming he didn't.
No, I don't think he got free. I think they put him in a cell someplace that wasn't a part of Tartarus.
But Tartarus wasn't the only jail that was like broken into.
Well, I mean, they would have made a big deal about him being gone, though. They would let us know that he got out. And it doesn't seem like not having him is a hindering them too much, because apparently, as Kurogiri was revealed to be a Nomu anyway. He doesn't really do anything on his own. So if there was a breakout, I don't think he would have gotten up and walked out. Actually, speaking of Nomus, what about that one from season 1? We haven't seen or heard anything from him since.
Yeah, that really powerful one that just shut down.
Yeah, that one concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of things. Like, it just goes back to showing how many assets, like, All for One just kind of sits on.
I don't know. It's like it doesn't seem to me. It's like Gary wouldn't like. He managed to break free a little bit, and they showed that it was definitely his best friend, and he was barely hanging on. From the looks of it, they made it sound like he was a zombie or something like that. He shouldn't have been alive.
Yeah. Well, that tracks pretty well.
But they're not living, or they're. Sorry. I guess with that, that's the end of the podcast for today.
Can I
Next.
ask one quick question before we run?
What?
At 1 minute in the episode, at 1 minute exactly, which is in the opening credits, who is with who there? It looks almost like Aoyama and either Eraserhead or that guy that can control you. It flashes just for a second at exactly 1 minute. Actually, 59 seconds will get it to you too. There's a person that looks like either Eraserhead or the guy that can control people that's become a Eraserhead student because they've got the wraps around their neck.
Oh, that's sheesh. That's But yeah, the purple hair kid, the guy in the background, that's the guy that he can order you around with his mental abilities.
Yeah,
And then
and
this
then
guy, this is he's from
who's
class 1B. He's the one that he's able to take a quirk for a duration of time and use it.
okay, that's him. For a second I thought it was Aoyama.
Well, that's him.
And
I
I
can
was
tell
like,
because he's got that suit on, his tie. That's him.
yeah, okay. I was going through the opening credits and I was trying to figure out if that was Aoyama. I was like, that'd be really interesting if it was.
So that's what it looks like. Because I almost got like a distinct face, and he doesn't have it. Yeah, I don't know what his role's gonna be. Because I mean, they've been using him a little bit. But the guy that's got like yeah, he thinks he's like he's like the hottest thing alive since like sliced bread. But yeah, I wonder what he's gonna be doing. This is he's gonna be like we see him there with him in the background.
Yeah. All right, that was just my question. I was trying to figure out if that was him or not.
No problem. I wonder if I could like can I do a face search with my phone? I wonder if that's a thing I can do. They say that's Monamo Monama. Okay, I guess with that, we'll end the podcast here. Next week, we'll come back to review episode 5 of this anime. Really good first 4 episodes. I literally have expected this one to be a filler, but I'm pleasantly surprised it wasn't.
Yeah, it was great. It was a very good episode.
Very inspirational. And with that, see you guys next week.
See you, everybody.